It's funny how all these Democrats, in trying to figure out how to make themselves have mass appeal, are growing facial hair, from Ezra Klein to Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut to now Pete Buttigieg. Like, I'm going to start looking like Paul Bunyan, and that will make me sellable to the larger electorate. So The Atlantic bought it, hook, line, and sinker, and sitting with Buttigieg. And they write, the title of the piece, as I mentioned, is Pete Buttigieg in the Wilderness. I quoted the line, "He has a beard, a splitting mall, and a house in Michigan. Is that enough to convince America that he's a man of the people?" This is the big setup piece for his presidential campaign. This is how he's kicking it off. Make no mistake about it. 2028 is right around the corner. We're already at 26. It's on. And this is Pete Buttigieg getting it off with The Atlantic, getting it off to a start. Lead line of the article. In May 2001, at Harvard's Institute of Politics, a 19-year-old freshman named Peter Buttigieg asked David Gergen, a Harvard professor and horse whisperer to 5 presidents, a question that he might have reserved for himself a couple of decades later. Peter, who had not yet transformed into Pete, let alone Mayor Pete, said he loved the West Wing, but could feel the idealism reflected in the show slipping away from politics in real life. Quote, "The presidency has now devolved into what's called the MBA White House, or the corporate model," he said, with the plaintive tone of a child asking about the spirit of Christmas. Quote, "Is that magic really gone forever?" Worse than being underused, they go on to talk about him, is being used in a campaign destined for failure. And they talk about Kamala Harris and how she considered Pete Buttigieg, but then overruled him and talked about how he felt about this. They say, okay, we were already asking a lot of America, she wrote in her memoir, and a lack of grace. Buttigieg has never thanked her for that slight. Being passed over has left him the most prominent Biden stalwart to remain viable as a candidate for the Democratic nomination in 2028. Okay, so they're setting it all up. Like, see how she left him the most prominent Biden stalwart. So he's still got the establishment Dems. He's viable as a candidate for the Democratic nomination. And here he was wistfully talking about the West Wing. Oh, and he went to Harvard. Did we mention he was at Harvard's Institute of Politics, and idealistic, and he has a beard and a splitting mall. So you see it all. It's not even subtle, Glenn.
No, this is exactly what I mean, Megyn. So I don't know what you were like at 19. I think I have some ideas. I know what I was like at 19. I was
picture very, very bad blonde bleached hair. Speaking of bleached blonde hair, out of a box, because I was poor, and that's how you had to do it.
Right. And like, I don't know. I wasn't at Harvard, like tugging on the coattails of David Gergen, like trying to form some I don't know, for people who don't know, David Gergen is like the ultimate Washington insider, was like the whisperer to multiple presidents in both parties, like the supreme Washington establishment centrist or moderate or whatever. And then he was on CNN, like one of the wise men of Washington. And that is who Pete Buttigieg is. It was who he was since he was very young. Like, this is the core of somebody that cannot change. You can change how they dress. You can change whether they have facial hair. You can change what kind of hat they wear. But like, who you are is who you are. And you can evolve and grow and all of that, but you cannot escape that core personality that is clearly still Pete Buttigieg. And that is who he is. Harvard and David Gergen and McKinsey and also like, this electoral success, you know how many votes he got when he won to be mayor of South Bend? The maximum, like in both times, was like 8,000 people, 8,000 votes.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
The whole thing is like built on a fake artifice, like a total house of cards.
Well, so The Atlantic loves it. I mean, like I said, hook, line, and sinker. He sounds like the younger member of the old Democratic Party, the one that flourished before Trump, brainy, credentialed, and elite, liberal, but not progressive, and personable, but this might be key, frightfully boring. Buttigieg is technocracy made flesh. Who could be safer than a politician who has had his card punched at all the great meritocratic institutions and who has followed the modern cursus honorum, some sort of Latin, honorum, from local office to national? And who could be less Trumpian? He's unashamed of technical competence, even when it makes him sound dweebish. Without embarrassment, he bragged to me during his days as a management consultant. He had worked with data sets, quote, too big for Excel to handle. Ha, ha, ha. And then they go on to say the following. Hold on, buckle up. Buttigieg's critics seem to fault him for the vaguest reasons, many of which come down to, he's too perfect, Glenn. I'm quoting from the piece. He's too perfect. That's the problem with Pete Buttigieg. Now he gets to it. He's not authentic. He's not a man of the people. It's an odd line of attack. Is it possible to be too perfect? Is perfection a flaw? This is unbelievable. I'm sure J.D. Vance is going to get exactly this treatment in The Atlantic. Social psychology has documented something known as the pratfall effect, the distrust of people deemed too perfect. It turns out that people like smart, charismatic types, but they really like smart, charismatic types who screw up now and then and do not just ace every test and land every joke. It's the interview question. What are some of your flaws?
Exactly.
I work too hard. I'm a perfectionist. And this writer, hook, line, and sinker, as I said, Graham Wood, who teaches at Yale and is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, was like, I'm in love.
No, but you know what's so funny, Megyn, is when I was just describing why Pete Buttigieg is such a pathetically weak candidate, why he'll never have this like compelling appeal, I actually sounded almost identical to the Atlantic article, at least until I got to the part about how he's too perfect. That he is like from a different political era, like from the Obama era, where people wanted technocrats and like very kind of cold, people who came out of establishment institutions. The authority and credibility of all those institutions are in collapse. And the more you have to do with them, the more you smell like them, the more you seem like you're a byproduct of them, the weaker you are. So yeah, maybe he would have been a good like candidate in like the Democratic Party of Barack Obama in 2012 or 2008. Trump destroyed all of that political era, that whole political appeal. And you see like smarter politicians like Gavin Newsom who realize that and are also trying to show that they're just kind of like regular guys who speak in regular speak. Pete Buttigieg doesn't have it in him. And the Atlantic is like ground zero for the political establishment. And so, of course, they still think those are appealing traits when in reality, they're fatal.
Yes. So, and by the way, Newsom is another person lying about his origin story. And one other excerpt from this piece. He never spoke more slowly or sounded more rehearsed than when I asked him about the issue he will be most harshly critiqued on if he runs, his silence during Biden's cognitive decline. Quote, "We all saw what we saw, that he was old," he said. "I never saw a decision that was different or worse because he was old," end quote. And as long as the decision-making was sound, Buttigieg had no duty to pull a senility alarm. Well, this will be a problem for Pete Buttigieg among other Democrats running. Why didn't they say anything about Biden's cognitive decline? He was part of the administration, said nothing. Gavin Newsom wasn't part of the administration, but he's also going to get questioned about it because he was such a huge Gavin Newsom backer, but Joe Biden backer. The Emerson poll that was most recent on Democratic presidential possibilities hit February 26th, says the following. Newsom leads the pack at 20%. Buttigieg is second at 16%. Harris is third at 13%. AOC is fourth at 9%. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has 7%. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear at 5%. 24% are undecided. So it right now, if you were to go by today, it's Newsom versus Buttigieg for this contest. And they are very different. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Every woman I talk to, I'm constantly like, Gavin Newsom. And every woman, even the Republican ones, are like, he is hot. It doesn't hurt in politics to be very good looking. Pete Buttigieg is not. You don't look at him and think hot, but he's trying to get like cooler with the beard and the plaid, right? The equivalent of the camo hat. We'll see whether that works on anybody. I mean, no woman is fantasizing like at Pete Buttigieg because we know he's gay. So like, I guess you can't really compete in that lane exactly. But that's not the only reason.
That's not the only reason. Even if he were totally straight, you still wouldn't be.
No, my God, who would want that on top of them? I mean, gay or straight or whatever, male or female. It's a no. Think about this. In 2006, $20,000 equaled roughly 33 ounces of gold at spot price. Okay, $20,000 got you 33 ounces. At today's prices, those 33 ounces would be worth about $165,000. That would have been a very good investment. And that's why so many smart Americans do diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals. They're thinking about what's going to happen in the next 20 years. And it's also why you should consider buying gold from Birch Gold Group. For thousands of years, gold has been a store of wealth. And today, it is a crucial part of any balanced strategy. Even better, Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered retirement account in gold. All you have to do is text MK to the number 989898, and that will give you a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation. It's just useful information from which you can make a decision. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, let Birch Gold help you diversify with gold. Now that's peace of mind. Again, text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.